Hari Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Padarayanam Sutra Kruto Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः. Hari Om. One of the most daring or shocking statement in philosophy of Advaita Vedanta is all that I am transacting, all that I am seeing, all the interactions that I have, none of these have any substantial absolute base. My sleeping, my waking, my talking, my interaction, my feelings, my emotions, my thinking, all have no substantive reality. It comes as a shocker to anyone simply because my every movement, prati eka kshana, my every movement is involved in interaction with my mind, of my mind with other minds, of my mind with other objects in the world. The very fact that I move around in this world as a subject puts entire thing as an object. So I cannot move around, interact with anyone unless I presuppose an I. And this I then makes everything around me as they, aham, I, idam, that, or to use Acharya's word, asmad and yushmad, मैं और तू. There is absolute impossibility of any interaction, or living itself will become impossible if I and you are made into one. So much engrossed are we in our own identification as I, an identification of the entire universe as that or you, that it is virtually impossible for us to even sit and think that whether this presumption, this reality as we call it, this pratyaksha pramana where I keep interacting, this notion that there is a satsang going on and there are few people listening to somebody who's speaking, all this is false. All this is nothing else but myth. In the Vyavaharika Vishwa, anyone who makes a statement that all this is not happening, all this is not reality, all this is illusion, would be considered as a madman. And only basis on which we say that the entire interaction has a truth, has a fact, is reality, the world is real, is based on our experience of the thing. The interactions are bare interactive substances. The resultant effect of the interaction, as Bhagavad Gita calls it as a sangha, as a Nyaya Tattvajnan keeps discussing into the detail as Samavaya, Sanyoga, etc., Sambandham. As other darshanas talk about the dharma and the dharmi, all these are happening right in front of my indriyas. How can I deny the mountain in front of my eye, saying that there is no existence of mountain? Not only that, there is no existence of mind in the way I perceive it. My notion of my existence is entirely related to what I think of me, not what I am. And the Tarkika Prashna, the most logical question that arises is, when I am identified as X, Y, Z, where is the question of me not getting identified this way or me getting identified in some other way? At present, if a question is asked to us as who you are, our description of who I am begins and ends with the body. Forget a 5.5 feet structure that we have, as is forgotten when somebody dies or casts off his body. We say, Mr. So-and-so is no more existing. It's a different corollary that where did he go? And that puts a question beforehand, where did he come from? And even if it's come from somebody into another body, or he hasn't come from anywhere but is existing in a body, and from this body he doesn't go anywhere or goes anywhere into some other body, the fact remains that is he the body. So deeply ingrained in us the feeling that I am the body in terms of physicality, I am so and so, carrying so and so degree designation, etc., the father of somebody, the mother of somebody, the having daughters, having this object in my possession, that is my surname. I have decorated myself with some mental permutations and combinations. All these mental permutation combinations are ascribed on a physical body, and with the premise of my mind having those mental permutation combinations and the physicality of my body, I interact in this world as an entity different than the world. It is impossible to have any interaction unless I have a deep ingrained feeling that that with which I am interacting is separate from me, or I am separate from the object with whom I am interacting. It is clear cut to me by a pramana called Pratyaksha Pramana that I can see different shapes and sizes of objects lying around me. If I pick up an object called stone, I'm able to confidently say that this is a stone, this is not me. Oh, he is my brother, he is not me. And exactly juxtaposed to this is the fact that there is no stone, there is no mountain, there is no brother, there is no body, there is no mind, there are no thoughts. All this is an aberration. Quite a strong statement to make, and equally or more difficult to digest. If I am thinking me as a body, others as an object, interacting with each other as the world, me becoming doctor, me doing a surgery, I being a philosopher, I professing a philosophy, all this, if it is an aberration, if it's a wrong notion, then comes the question, what is the right notion? And if right notion is known, which is nothing else but the truth or the ultimate truth or the Brahman, which at present we are not aware of, not even by the help of Paroksha Jnana or the study which we are trying to do. We are trying to dissect the nature of that reality, the metaphysical aspect of that reality. But the main question that comes to mind is, if all this is an aberration, if the speaker who is speaking right now is not a reality, then how is it that I feel it as reality? One, when it is not real, then what is real? And the third most important question that comes to the logical mind is how the unreal has got mixed up with the real. Do they really have any relation, or they are distinctly apart? Are we by any chance closer to the reality that is existing, the ultimate truth, or we are just floating in the illusory world? First of all, what the philosophers or the acharyas call as myth or unreal appears absolutely real to me, because every day, every breath, I am working on it, working with the presumption that this is all real. Or else, why would I eat? Why would I work? Why would I say hello to somebody? Why would I cry? Why would I get affected by a stone that is hurled at me? It pains me. How can my pain, which I feel and suffer, be unreal? And if all this is unreal, how can it get related to the real? Why is it that the real is remaining completely enclosed somewhere else, not accessible to me? Is it a figment of imagination of few people who are wandering monks called sannyasis or munis, that they kept contemplating and became completely lunatic and came out with a concept called Brahman or Atman? And if what they say is true, then how do I understand that what they say is true and what I feel, I experience is unreal? Somebody might just say, a monk may stand in front of me, maybe Acharya Shankaracharya may stand in front of me and say that, yes, come with me and experience it. Come with me and have the experience of real and unreal. The explanation given by them is that this is all because of the avidya. This is all Maya. But sir, I actually eat the food and feel good about it. Yes, the food, the feeling of goodness, serving of the food and your body, all is Maya. Are you trying to say that it doesn't exist? Because every day, every moment, I am interacting on the premises of this, that I am the body, and all these are objects. If you take away my subject-object duo relationship, the concept itself smothers me. There is nothing in this world, it's all a bubble. And the real world is beyond this existence. What is there? There is nothing there. How big is that? Huge. Huge means how huge? It has no limits, aparimita. Who are there in that world? No one. There is only one. Ekameva dvitiya. The concept that there is nothing is very frightening. It is frightening. So is the case of a person who decides to get into this track of meditation, wherein when the detachment starts from the feeling that I am the body, it is so painful and frightening that you do require an experienced person to guide you through the process called Guru. Something akin to the birth of a baby coming from a womb which is absolutely dark inside the mother's embryo, as an embryo, all of a sudden gets delivered into this huge expanse of world where he opens his eyes and finds everything completely different. He gets stunned by what is there outside. As an analogy of this birth, if we think of that birth wherein we overcome the illusion, overcome the myth that I am the body, this is the world, and then come out and get delivered, the feeling, even for an advanced yogi, is pretty frightening. As Kabir Maharaj calls his, Niradhar ka aadhar hai. A shelterless shelter. Right now, we are just projecting our intellect to know that status. Acharya rightfully grasping the content of the scripture Brahmasutra is precisely going to go into the details of this unreal, which is definitely real as long as I am in this notion, which he calls it as Satta Traya Siddhanta. Satta is the substratum on which you analyze your existence. You analyze your relationship. You understand and grasp yourself. In the Vyavaharika Satta that is going on right now, of somebody speaking, somebody listening, is happening in Vyavaharika Satta because there is a transaction happening. लेन देन की बात है. Wherever there is a transaction in the Vyavaharika Satta, the truth appears as truth in Vyavaharika Satta till Vyavaharika Satta exists. Right now, there is a mobile, there is somebody speaking, somebody listening, but when I sleep and dream, in my dream, I see something completely different. I do interact there. I have a relevance of time in that particular satta called a dream field called Pratibhasika Satta. Pratibhasika, Bhasma. The word appears there in the dream, but because the satta, the power, is of dream and ruling there, nothing of the Vyavaharik Satta applies there. I get a cool breeze in Vyavaharika Satta when I go out in the winter. I do get the same breeze when I go out in the winter. Only thing is I go out in the winter in dream. I get all the reactions and actions and emotions and intellectual things similar to what I get in Vyavaharika Satta. In both these sattas, how I feel, what is my understanding as mine. I understand this world is what we say. I understand because there are people, I have to be careful, I should not hit somebody. All this, I have a concrete feeling of understanding based on the satta in which I am existing. Imagine a drama or a 3-act play that is going on, in which somebody is acting as a king and has forgotten that this is a drama. He shall continue to harbor the feeling of kingship till he is made to realize that, sir, you are in a drama, you're not a real king. This clearly indicates that the substratum or the satta that we have decides my entire feelings, existence, emotions, everything. Now, this satta itself, does it have any substantive reality? Because when I sleep and dream, my Vyavaharik satta is gone. The entire world vanishes along with me when I'm dreaming. The only difference is the duration till the time the satta remains is different in different stages. In swapnavastha, the state when it is of dream, the satta lasts for far lesser time. While when I am awake, it lasts for a longer time. And how long and how short? The dreaming may be of few minutes. I'm able to calibrate it. The awakened state, Jagruta Avastha, could be for few hours. And there is one more Avastha in which I neither have transactional world, Vyavaharika Satta, Jagrut Avastha, nor do I have the dreaming state or the Swapna Avastha. I have Sushupti, the sleep, the deep sleep, which again has a certain time limit which I am able to measure. When I experience these three stages, each of them having different satta, because these are states. When each of these satta is gone, avastha is gone, another avastha prevails. Taking this logic forward, there could be a state, there could be a substratum, a satta, where time is not ruling. Because presently, I do know that I go through three sattas, only three I am aware of. Sushupti, deep sleep, the dreaming, the Swapna Avastha, and the Jagrut Avastha, the awakened state. I am witness to all the three, so I know them. But there are two things that delimit these three sattas. One is time, because each of them lasts for a certain time. And then comes the question, can there be a satta which is not bound by the time? The possibility definitely remains a concrete possibility, because I am not, when I'm awake, I'm a different thing. When I'm asleep, I'm a different thing. When I'm dreaming, I'm a different thing. Whether I in these three avastha is same or different, that is a different question altogether. But experience-wise, the empirical experience that I have tells me that my world that I think as my world varies in 24 hours through three sattas, three states, avasthas. All the three are included into a satta called a Vyavaharika Satta, transactional world, because everything is punctuated by giving, taking, and experiencing. There is an object, there is a subject, there is an interaction, there is a result. The subject interacts with the object. There is a birth of interaction, either giving to knowledge or experience. And the experience can be good or bad, anukula or pratikula. And that is how the world has been revolving. Now has come the time, because we have decided to study threadbare whether what I so far presume to be an authentic experience is unreal or real. It's a journey for every one of us to undertake as a student of Brahmasutra, to find out whether what I did so far as real is actually real or unreal. This being the premise of the beginning of Brahmasutra, Acharya has started with not the first sutra, but with Upodghat. Udghatya is a Sanskrit word which means break open. Udghatana. Udghate is break open. We have seen this in Patanjali Yoga Sutra when the Shwasa Prashwasa to Pranayama is regulated, then through the Antar Kumbhaka, the Pranavayu is supposed to go at the base of Kundalini and give a powerful blow called Udghatya to open up the Kundalini. So Upadghata is a small blow given to open the topic. And the Upadghata done by Shankaracharya for Brahma Sutra in his Bhashya is of Adhyasavada. He gives his premises very clear in the beginning itself as Adhyasavada, because the one who hasn't understood the Adhyasavada of Shankaracharya can never understand what Shankaracharya meant precisely by Maya and Brahman. There has been enormous amount of misgivings about the concept of Maya, to the extent that some of them pointed towards Acharya saying that he is a Prachanna Bauddha, crypto-Buddhist, because indirectly through Maya he is pointing towards Shunyavad, which is not so. So the study of Brahma Sutra starts with understanding the structure of Brahma Sutra. The whole Brahma Sutra has 4 adhyayas. Each adhyaya has 4 pada, and each pada has adhikarana. What is adhikarana? Adhikarana means it is a style of presentation of commentary on a particular scripture. The one way of writing a commentary on any scripture is, what I have understood, I will start writing. But when you write a grantha, the opponent is not sitting there to discuss with you orally. So the best commentator, the Bhashyakarta, if he has to be a good Adhikari Bhashyakarta, he must know what objection may be raised on my commentary by others. We have a glorious tradition in India, in Bharata, of respecting the opinion of the opposite party, objecting party, by studying the opposite party in detail. To give you an example, Madhvacharya, when he wrote about his Dvaita Siddhanta, his opponent was Shankaracharya. So deep was his study of Shankaracharya that the Purva Paksha, the opponent's view, written by Madhvacharya in his commentary on the Dvaita, is so great and elaborate that one can study Shankaracharya's Vedanta very well by studying the Dvaita scripture itself. What it means is, the Bhashyakar, when he is writing, he must know opposite standpoint in detail. His buddhi has to be pragalbha enough to understand what objections can come. So the style of writing the Bhashya starts with first the opponent's objection. It's a Purva Paksha. Then Siddhanta Paksha. How the opposition is wrong. Then what are the doubts, samshaya, that comes. Then what is the prayojan of all this? And at the end, whatever has been spoken has to be properly synthesized or related to each other so that a concrete opinion can be formed. This process of putting a scriptural dialogue That is why most of the Indian Hindu scriptures are samvadatmak. There is a disciple, there is a guru, there is a disciple or an opponent and himself, or a Purva Paksha and a Siddhanta Paksha. So that all aspects of an argument can be brought into the purview of that particular bhashyam. Such a style is called adhikarana. There are 192 adhikaranas. And each adhikarana has sutra. So the smallest unit of Brahmasutra is sutra. So there is one sutra followed by another sutra, followed by another sutra, and few sutra together, they form the adhikarana. Such 192 adhikaranas form the pada or the pad. And such 4 padas form one adhyaya. That is the structure of Brahmasutra. To take a bird's eye view on what Brahmasutra precisely deals with, in short, the syllabus of Brahmasutra Bhashya, the first adhyaya is called Samanvaya Adhyaya. Now, what is Samanvaya? Samanvaya is harmony. There are different notes in music. Each of them have a distinct character. But when played together, they should be played in such a manner that it creates harmony, Samanvaya. Similarly, in the Shruti or in the Veda, we should never forget the fundamental principle of Brahmasutra is to do logical rearrangement of Shruti in order to remove the discrepancies and have an harmonious interpretation, because it is Tarka Prasthana. Logically, we have to do it. Tark and Yukti both is going to be used. So the first adhyaya is called Samanvaya Adhyaya. And its aim is coherent interpretation of all Upanishads. See, we have already seen our problem. When we started Brahmasutra, the first session, we spoke about how Upanishads came in existence. One of the simplistic view of Upanishads is there is an expression of understanding when you understand a thing. Let us take a very common and a crude analogy of eating a mango. When we eat a mango and a person is asked, how is it? Because it is an experience. Eating mango is an experience. Prior to that, all theoretical description has been given that it is yellowish in color, it is called Alfonso. All these are paroksha jnana. Now aparoksha anubhuti is going to be coming there. There is an experience that he had, and now his experience is being described by him. There are so many factors on which his experience depends. First, which language he speaks. In that language, he will tell the experience. 2, what is his concept of sweetness in his language? Perhaps a person from Bengal may say that, oh, it's almost like Rasgulla, because his frame of reference extends to his experiential part of that Rasgulla, which he tries to juxtapose with the mango. That means everywhere to express the experience, some reference is taken. Oh, it is sweet like anything. That means it is discriminated from the bitter and the pungent. In the sweetness itself, it is different than the sweetness of an apple because it is a mango. What is happening is only one thing is getting described, sweetness of mango, but there is so much of associated factors with which he's going to describe it, and it may so happen that he may just do some gestures and say it is very good. Or He may use a word which has no substantive basis in the alphabets itself. He may just make a chuckling sound and say it's good. Different fact that others will understand it. Now take the same experience, which is actually not an experience, but same experience of a Brahmavid. That golden moment of, as Gurudev calls it, intense white heat of meditation, when it dawns upon him that this is Anatma and this is Atma, or Atma Anubhava. It happens at a stage where experience does not exist at all, but when he descends down from that experience into the transactional world, Vyavaharika Satta, that time he attempts to describe the experience. The attempt to describe that experience which has no parallels at all, nothing to compare like a mango, the experience then is extremely difficult to be put into words. However, the different rishis have done that particular task by inserting the words of their experience through the most powerful language called Sanskrit. Even then, these experiences uttered at the higher stage of consciousness as the revelation of ultimate truth differ from each other, each rishi to another rishi. For those who are at the bottom level of consciousness like us, for us it becomes a confusing and contradicting statement. All these statements are not contradictory, but they are pointing to only one thing, and this is called harmonization of different thoughts in the Shruti, which is done by Brahmasutra in the first adhyaya called Samanvaya Adhyaya. To give an example, one Upanishad mentions Akash as something from where all the things come. Here, the truth is being pointed as Akasha Tattva. From Akash, everything has come out. Now here, the word Akash doesn't mean the Panchamahabhuta Akash, but it means Brahma. This needs to be told, which is told in the Brahma Sutra. In Chandogya Upanishad, Prana is considered as Brahma. If you read Chandogya Upanishad, the whole narration is pointing towards Brahma, but the word used is Prana. Now here the prana is not to be taken as a prana that we know as Pancha Prana or Dasha Prana. This prana means Brahman only, has to be told to us by someone. Brahma Sutra tells us that through the Samanvaya Adhyaya. In fact, at one place in Chandogya Upanishad, mind has been used as a word to indicate Brahman. Now we all know that Antakaran is a Jada, Atman is Ajada or Chaitanya. Even then, one Rishi, the one who composed Chandogya Upanishad, referred in his Unmani Avastha Man as Brahman. Now then, the interpretation through the Abhida, Lakshana, Jahad Lakshana, Ajahad Lakshana, Jahad Ajahad Lakshana, all that has to be done to come to the conclusion that yes, this Rishi also is talking about Brahma. So that is why interpretation of all the apparently divergent and contradictory Upanishads and bringing them into one theme is the theme of Samanvaya Adhyaya or the first Adhyaya. Then comes the second Adhyaya, which is called Avirodha Adhyaya. Avirodha Adhyaya means chapter of non-conflict. What is non-conflict? the interpretation that we are discussing, there will be some objections coming from those who do not follow Vedanta. And the principal objection discussed in this particular Avirodha Adhyaya is Sankhya Tattvajnana. Now, we have studied Sankhya Tattvajnana to a good amount of detail when we studied Patanjali Yoga Sutra. In Sankhya Tattvajnana, we all know that it is the Prakriti that evolves into all these gunas. We all have seen that what is Prakriti, then we have a Prakriti or Pradhan, and then we have Buddhi Tattvam, then Ahankar Tattvam, from Ahankar Tattvam, then coming down into the different gunas, then based on the combination of gunas, Shabala Sattva, Shuddha Sattva, how the Jnanendriyas are formed, Karmendriyas are formed, how the Tanmatras undergo the Panchikarana and then Panchamahabhutas are formed. All that we have seen. Excellent structure, one of the most systematic structure of evolution of the world is given by Srushti, has been given by the Sankhyas. However, the Sankhyan Tattvajnana is taken as a threadbare opponent in this Avirodha Adhyaya, where if at all Prakriti evolves, why? What is the business for the Prakriti to create the world? Why it can't keep quiet? What is the need? Second, Prakriti is not Chaitanya, it is not Purusha. Then how it evolves? Something which is not conscious cannot evolve. How does that evolve? Then all of a sudden the Prakriti stops evolving and goes back into Laya Avastha. Why? Who starts that Laya? If she is insentient, how can she be having a design for the evolution? Who gives the design? Who tells that only 3 gunas should be there? Why not 4? Why not 2? Why Sattva has to be the purest or the whiter, as they call it, and Tama as the black or the darkest? Why not the other way around? This and other questions of Sankhya. Purusha doesn't do anything. Prakriti does everything. Prakriti cannot have power to do anything. Purusha has power to do everything, but he doesn't do. Prakriti has no power to do anything, but she does everything. And Purusha and Prakriti are not related. All these are discussed in detail. And the reason for it is Sankhya Tattvajnana is the closest Tattvajnana to Advaita Vedanta. So once amongst the darshanas, Sankhya has been dealt with, almost all others are dealt with. There is also reference to Vaisheshika in this Adhyaya. Vaisheshika talk about a force called Adrushta. The Adrushta is the force that moves the Anu, the smallest particle or smallest unit believed by Vaisheshikas to have formed this whole huge thing is Anu. We have seen in short that Dvainaka, Trainyuka and all that, how it forms. The question is how this Anu moves. Who gives the power to the Anu to form this particular universe? And they say it is because of a power called Adrushta. That has also been taken for discussion and discussed threadbare against the Vaisheshika Tattvajnana in this Avirodha Adhyaya. In Avirodha Adhyaya, another important philosophy has been taken as an opponent, and that is Pradhana Malla Buddha Tattvajnana. Both the realistic and idealistic schools of philosophy of Buddhism, the idealist philosophy of Buddhism believes that There is no extra mental reality. All that we see, experience through the Indriyas is nothing else but something imagined by the mind. Nothing in the world has any reality whatsoever. It's all coming from the ideas of mind, the idealism. There is no extra mental reality. All that is real is idea. So this is also again discussed threadbare and defeated through the logic by Shankaracharya in the Bhashya through the Avirodha, taking the recourse to the Brahmasutra Avirodha Adhyaya. The Jaina Tattvajnan is also coming here in few sutras and is getting defeated by Shankaracharya. Even the Tattvajnan which is supposed to be the foundation school for all the Dvaita Sampradaya or the Vaishnava Sampradaya, which includes the Sri we have seen all of them, the Shuddha Dvaita, the Vishishta Dvaita, the Achintya Bheda Bhed, the Bheda Bheda of Nimbarka. All this has originated from the earlier scripture called Pancharatra. That Pancharatra is also taken here for the discussion, and their views called theistic views are also defeated here. The third adhyaya is called Sadhana Adhyaya, Samanvaya Adhyaya, Avirodha Adhyaya, and then comes Sadhana Adhyaya. The Sadhana Adhyaya is talking about means of realization, Moksha Sadhana Paddhati. Here, all the discussion is done about a very important, pertinent question that every one of us has, that is, what happens to the Jiva after death? We have already seen Kathopanishada. But Kathopanishada talks about life after death through the mouth of Dharmaraj, Yama, and the entire description given by Yamaraj revolves around the description of Atman or Brahma. But that is for the realized soul. What about the normal, common soul full of sins or whatever we call it, vasanas? So what happens to the Jiva after death? How does he move immediately after death? What is Pitruyan, Devayan? How that re-embodiment takes place from one body, you die and take another body. How the process takes place is also explained in Sadhana Paddhati. There is a Sadhana Paddhati Samanvaya also. What is Sadhana Paddhati Samanvaya? If we look at the sadhana and sadhana given in Shruti, in Veda, we find different names. We may find Nirvikalpa Samadhi. We may find Dhyana. We may find Dhi, Dharana. There can be different names, but same meditation process. There can be different meditations having same name in the Upanishad. So all these sadhana paddhatis are discussed here to create a harmony, to prove that there is no contradiction in Upanishad about the sadhanas that are to be done. And right here in this adhyaya, Saguna Brahma Upasana and Nirguna Brahma Upasana is discussed. What is reaching to the Brahma Loka and the Krama Mukti, and what is Nirguna Brahma Upasana and reaching to the ultimate reality within the life itself as a Jivan Mukta is discussed here. And at the last in this sadhana adhyaya, there is a detailed vichara about sannyas. The last or the fourth adhyaya is called Phala Adhyaya. Samanvaya, Avirodha, Sadhana Adhyaya, and the last one is called Phala Adhyaya. What is the Phala Prapti? If you do Saguna Brahma Upasana, what will be the result, the Phalam? And then Acharya's most important contribution being Jnana Marga. The Jnana Marga is described in detail here. Deha Tadatmya Virahita Astitva. How is it that a person remains embodied, interacts into the Vyavaharik Satta, but internally he is in Paramarthik Satta? We have seen three Sattas: Vyavaharik, Pratibhasik, and Paramarthik. These are three Sattas. In these three Sattas, we have seen that a person can be in one of these three Sattas at one time. You can't be dreaming and awake at the same time. You can't be in Pratibhasik Satta and Vyavaharik Satta at the same time. But those who have mastered the Paramarthik Satta through Jivan Mukti are able to be in two Sattas simultaneously. They are in Vyavahara, yet they are in Paramarthik Satta. How it is possible that one who is one with the Atman is able to transact? How the realized soul also feels hungry. He is beyond hunger, yet as long as he has the body, he faces the hunger. While he quenches his thirst or satisfies his hunger, simultaneously he is aware that neither the hunger nor the quenching or satisfying is true. See, the conceptual understanding is a Jivan Mukta at once knows that all this is unreal, yet behaves as if it is real. Now, how it is possible for one to have these two different notions and yet in harmony with whatever is happening? You are either out of the world or you are in the world. How can you be simultaneously out of the world and in the world, which is nothing else but the state of Badhit Anuvrutti? We are going to see this technical word in detail as we move ahead. One of the reasons why Brahmasutra's Abhyas is called the culmination of Vedanta is because the four Adhyayas are, through the Bhashya, are so full of knowledge about Vedanta that after studying Brahmasutra, there is hardly anything that is left of studying in Vedanta Shastra itself. And mind well, in Vyasakruta Brahmasutra, we are studying one of the best commentary given by one commentator called Shankaracharya. Prior to Shankaracharya, there were people who had commented on it called Audulomi, Asmartya, Kashakrutsna Rushi. They had already commented upon it. Bhaskaracharya, Yadav Prakash, they have already commented upon it. We have already seen into the other schools of Vedanta how their own acharyas had their own commentary. And on the top of it, there is Brahmasutra on which somebody has earlier commented. There is a Brahmasutra on which the acharyas of main schools of Vedanta have commented. And after Shankaracharya also, there are many who commented on Shankaracharya's commentary. The famous commentaries on Shankaracharya's Shankara Brahmasutra Bhashya is by none else than Vachaspati Mishra, who wrote a very important scripture called Bhamati, Kalpataru, and Parimal. All the three are comment on commentary. Padma Padacharya wrote Panchapadika, Vivarana, and Tattvadipana. So the Brahma Sutra has again been commented by many people. This gives us sufficient background now, after knowing in short the structure of Brahma Sutra, how it is organized. The soul of Brahma Sutra is the sutra. Next is compilation of sutra into what is called adhikarana, and then adhikaranas makes the pada, and the pada makes the adhyaya. But for us in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, each sutra is important. But in Brahma Sutra, along with the sutra, adhikarana is important. Compilation of sutra, 10, 12 sutra coming together forming one adhikarana is called an unit. That is more important, because when Brahma Sutra was written, it was written line by line. Now, it was a grantha having all the adhikaranas together. The biggest question that the acharyas have felt is how to pick up the adhikaran out of this entire grantha, where a particular adhikaran starts and where it ends. One adhikaran should not get mixed with another adhikaran, otherwise the meaning will change. First problem. And the second problem was, in one adhikarana, suppose there are 20 sutras, where the first word of second sutra is to be combined with first, or it is to be combined with the next one, because there are no commas. And believe it or not, Ramanujacharya's Bhashya, Madhvacharya's Bhashya has differed from Shankaracharya because of this particular combination of sutras. Some acharyas have taken one word into the previous sutras and the meaning has changed. So in adhikaran, where the adhikaran is starting and ending, second, which word is getting into which sutra, is pretty confusing as far as the original treatise of Brahma Sutra is concerned. That is why having Spashtakruta Adhikarana is very important. So there are 555 sutras organized into 192 Adhikarana, making 4 padas, which in turn make the Adhyaya, 4 Adhyayas. We saw the short details about the Adhyaya. Now we are geared up to see the structure of Adhikarana and then enter into the first Upodghat that is given, which is not the part of Brahma Sutra. The Brahma Sutra starts from Athato Brahma Jidnyasa, but prior to that, Acharya felt it necessary to talk about Upodghat, and the subject is Adhyasa. So we shall be seeing the details of what an Adhikarana is, what are the limbs or the constituents of Adhikarana, and then simultaneously start with the first part called Adhyasa, which includes all the types of Khyati. One of the most important philosophical aspect discussed in Vedanta is Khyati. So we shall be seeing all the different types of Khyati, Akhyati, Atma Khyati, Anyatha Khyati, Viparita Khyati. What is this Khyati business? First of all, what is this Adhyasa? What is Anyonya Adhyasa? What all this is to do with my understanding of the world and the Brahman? We will try our level best to reconcile all these samshayas that we have in the mind in the coming session. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om.
Hari Om. Are there any questions, please?
Yeah. Hari Om. Yesterday, I have listened to a talk about the Onam celebrations by one of the Acharyas in in Kashi. Malayali, he is Malayali. And what we are discussing today now has, he has very, without any doubt, he has confirmed that these all are same, and this many celebrations, many utsavas are misinterpreted. Why I am telling this? Because Kashyapa Prajapati's son, parampara is Vishnu, and even the Danavas and Devas and Danavas, Devas and Asuras, both are actually coming from the same source. It is coming, but it is because of the character, it has taken a diverse route, and one against another. So paraspara viruddha. So this applies in Puranas. So that is very much agreeable to Brahma Sutra in one way, isn't it?
Hari Om. Yes, reconciliation of philosophical differences of Shruti is the main function of Brahma Sutra. Hari Om.
So we will discuss this after starting our first Adado Brahma Jitnasa. Now these all are introductions. Introduction has gone to a long extent up to 7th session, and it sounds very interesting. But this type of knowledge is actually for meant for the sannyasi type of people. That is what I understand, because it is too deep and too profound that we can only that type of people will be able to properly comprehend it. But because of our interest, we are listening to this, and as we move forward, it will be more clear for us, isn't it?
The thoughts that will be coming to our mind after going through the discussion of Brahma Sutra would be that there will be some backdrop of activity happening in the Antakarana, and a serious questioning may happen through the thoughts about our own self. Nothing and none that is heard, even as the discussion on Brahma Sutra, would go unattended by the mind. The thought that will start vigorating from now, a question whether this reality is really existing or it is unreal, shall slowly also infuriate the thought process to think about. There is a seriousness or a gambhirata, the depth that you get to the thought process, which elevates you in your study at whichever place you are, whether you are a grahastha or whether you are a sannyasi. Of course, the usage by sannyasi of Brahma Sutra is of a very high level, but nevertheless, even the grahastha, even the commoner, as long as he is able to invigorate the thought process system in the mind, it definitely helps him in reaching to the higher heights, because Acharya himself relies on only one thing, and that is why he doesn't speak of yoga at all. His entire reliance is on vichar. So vichar, or the thought, is the only method that Acharya adopts to go towards jnanam. Now the sannyasi may go with a speed towards the jnanam, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't give any speed to even the grahastha. It does. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om, Hari Om. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sanjay ji.
Prem, Dr. Sanjay ji. About Adhikarana, is it not like part of like original text of Vyasa Sutra? And these Adhikaranas is just my simple understanding is maybe as a, like sub-subjects. So maybe just for Akasha Adhikarana, maybe 3-4 sutras are there. Prana Adhikarana, 3-4 sutras are there, like that.
What happened was Vyasa Maharishi, whenever he wrote Brahmasutra, at his level of understanding, he wrote the scripture and the scripture was complete. The question came thereafter that what is he precisely talking about? So a general theme could be observed by most of the acharyas because they had extraordinary brain intelligence. However, while studying Brahmasutras, it was realized that there needs to be some grouping done of the sutras, because certain sutras, when you group together, they are dealing with one particular aspect of a samshaya doubt or one particular aspect of thematic philosophy. As you said, Akasha Adhikaranam or Prana Adhikaranam or Man Adhikaranam is basically the Vyasa Maharshi is trying to talk about wherever Akasha is referred in the entire Upanishad, all that means Brahma. Now, in order to do that, of course, with Vyasa Buddhi, the entire Veda was known to him. So he was able to pick up the points where these conflicting and controversial views might be created, and he brought those things together in order to explain those sutras, which were then correctly deciphered by the acharyas, and they made, for the sake of understanding, grouping in them. That is why it is called Adhikarana. Samanadhikarana. The similarity of the sutras talking about only one aspect, one issue, or one question, or one contradiction are brought together. So this is an arrangement found out by the Acharya. The original Brahma Sutra is an elucidating text starting from a first Varna to the last Varna. In case of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, you can pick up a sutra and start commenting on it, because these are sutra baddha. In Brahma Sutra, there is a need to bring together some sutras and call it as a relevant bunch of sutras called Adhikarana. And then in Adhikarana, how did they come to know that this is the bunching and not this 10 and only these 5 come together, not this 10? Through the process of reading in depth, that yes, it starts with a standpoint of opponent called Purva Paksha. Then it has got, after the Purva Paksha, there is a doubt raised, Samshaya. After Samshaya, there is a Sangati also. So everything first starts from Vishaya. After Vishaya, there is Samshaya. After Samshaya, there is Sangati. Then there is Purva Paksha. Then there is Siddhanta Paksha. So they found there is a flow. And based on these 5 angas of Adhikarana, they grouped it together. That is how Adhikarana were formed. Hari Om.